Hey team, Melissa from Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia here, and I felt like it was time to do an update. We have been on a roller coaster over here. So, uh, after, where do we start even? Okay, so I've had chronic symptoms for a long time, for like 20 years. And we have slowly teased out the ball of what is actually going on. For a long time, we only knew about fibromyalgia, but a few years ago, we found out I was actually diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, which came on after a virus at university when I was 21. Across this whole time, I've had very bad periods, and I've gone back and forward and back and forward, and basically been told, oh, well, some people get bad periods, or people with fibromyalgia get bad periods. And we found out when I was about 36, it was probably endometriosis. And at that point, I was on birth control for a very long time, and then I spent 10 years making babies. And then when I finished making babies, everything got bad. So last year, I had a hysterectomy and endometriosis excision surgery, which really helped. It was what I'm now considering one of the top kind of quantum leaps in my journey forward. And I was moderate fibromyalgia, mild ME/CFS, endometriosis. Who knows what you call that? In the last 10 years, I have made steady progress. Just before the surgery, I wasn't doing very well at all. I was not functioning very well. I was struggling. Since the surgery, it took a long time to recover, but my orthostatic intolerance shot up. So going into this summer that we've just gone into here in New Zealand, I was better pain-wise. I mean, no periods, hallelujah. So I was better pain-wise, but worse with orthostatic intolerance and fatigue. And when we went into the summer, we started having some bad heat waves. And we realized that my heat intolerance is actually quite a thing. Now, I've never really been in a situation, I know that I don't tolerate heat very well, but never really been in much of a situation before to test it out. And I went to Singapore with my husband, didn't do so well with that. Not as bad as I thought, but not so well. But this summer we've had heat wave and it's been really difficult. Many days the heat creeps up and then I just get worse and worse and worse. So it's been really hard. My heart rate goes really high when it's really hot. We didn't know whether or not it was orthostatic intolerance or POTS. It seems to be that the symptoms are similar for both, but with POTS there's a measurable change over a certain threshold of how much your heart rate increases when you stand up. And I'm just below the threshold in the very minimal, very mildly, like there's no challenge when you're doing it in the doctor's office, right? It's that brief test in the doctor's office. They put, the blood pressure cuff on and the thing on your finger, and then you stand up. And then you stand up for a little while, and then you sit down and it's done. So it's not exactly the most rigorous of testing, but I don't hit the threshold, and that's fine because not much really would change with our approach, I don't think. So the doctor said heat intolerance is a big thing for me. I've got to get on top of it. So I'm trying, which is very difficult because what's happening is the heat climbs up right when I've got to pick up the kids from school. So right as I've got to go and get the kids from school at 2:30 in the afternoon, the heat is just peaking and it's exhausting. And so from kind of 2:30 to 5, I'm struggling to function, but I've got all my kids home, and my third son has just started school and he has autism and he is struggling with starting. Of course, it is a big transition for any kid, but it's been a thing for him. So it's been quite a lot for me. And since the children got back from their trip, they haven't really been sleeping super well. The 2-year-old has been getting up in the night at least once, last night multiple times. So my sleep is impacted. So we're in this weird phase where some things are better and some things are worse. But it is really interesting because I started chiropractic treatment in around October, and I've had my first check-in with that, and it's going really well. It is really making a measurable difference for my neck and my back, which is wonderful. And we found out that that extreme pain I was having in my low back was actually my sacroiliac joints. They kind of shift and go out of place. which is very, very painful. But the chiropractor is helping me manage that and keep it in place. So the chiropractor has really made a difference. So you've got all these multiple things shifting. So I'd say overall, I'm better, but like very clear snippets of the day, not better. It's been really interesting, and we haven't been in our own house because our house is being renovated. So we've got 4 children, but we've had 1 bathroom this whole time. So we're getting a second bathroom and our kitchen upgraded from the original 1960s kitchen. So we've not been at home. So of course, not being at home, my dog being with my mum and brothers, and getting my 5-year-old ready to school, and just all that stuff. It's a lot going on right now. And the heat, and so I have no sense of much at the moment. One cool thing though is that I got a new Fitbit, and it was old and I was having some troubles, and I've been desperate for a new Fitbit for a while. So I got a new Fitbit, and when you get a new Fitbit, for the first 6 months you get Fitbit Premium for free, which has been really helpful because it's been really great tracking my heart rate. And so I've been really starting to explore it. Now I haven't got too far into it yet, but I have noticed a lot of things. So we already knew my resting heart rate is pretty excellent. It's in the 60s because I guess I'm a meditator and I do my deep breathing and all that kind of thing. I have a really excellent calm your nervous system plan. So I have this resting heart rate that's excellent, but then my heart rate shoots up for like regular things. So getting the kids in the car, 110 beats per minute. When it's hot, 140, shum, gone. So there's like a big gap between what's happening there. What I've also been playing with and looking into is the sleep function. So I've always been a bit confounded because for the last year or so, since I've been on quetiapine and gotten rid of the endometriosis and all that stuff, my sleep had looked pretty good. Like I was getting into the normal zone for REM and deep sleep most of the time, getting around 8 hours, most often a bit less, but around 8 hours with that good quality. And I was like, well, objectively it looks great. So I don't quite know why I'm not feeling any perkier when I wake up, or why I'm still really impacted by fatigue. And I still definitely need a rest each day, despite knowing that I need a little less rest in the form of my yoga nidra. I'm not desperate to do a big long 40-minute one and then struggling to get up afterwards. I can do 25 to 30 minutes, and that is enough at the moment, depending what's going on. But what I've noticed with it is that my heart rate actually is quite high in the night, and so it's been about 60% of the night above my resting heart rate. For someone who meditates, who's got excellent sleep hygiene, who takes the quetiapine, has her bed set up as well as she can. I do my best to tackle pain in the evening, so I'm not going to bed with high levels of pain. It is a bit confounding that my resting heart rate could be doing that. So that's definitely an area for exploration. So that's really something I want to work on. Another thing with my heart rate is trying to use it I have what my Fitbit calls a very good cardiovascular health, because I think my heart rate variability looks great because you've got all those highs and that really lovely low resting heart rate. You want to be really mindful of exercise, and it is really difficult trying to decide how to approach exercise, especially, I've got 4 children, so I'm doing 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day easily anyway in my regular life. And I spend more time a day in my moderate to high intensity heart rate zones just because of my heart rate issues. I don't even have time for exercise. And I know I want to build my strength, because obviously I've now had a hysterectomy, I've had 4 children, and I'm now heading towards 40. So I know strength is really important, but I also want to be supporting my heart and my heart health and making sure I'm doing the right thing, because part of the heart rate issues is that you get a bit of chest pain, and it just is a little bit of worry, and I want to do things that I can to support it. And so I've been looking into the idea of zone 2 exercise. So zone 2 is the idea that you're doing this comfortable level of exercise where you can comfortably talk, but you can do it for some time. And the next level is considered aerobic, and the next level is anaerobic. And anaerobic is where you want to stay away from when you have fibromyalgia and ME/CFS, because that's where you really start generating the lactic acid, and it really starts to have impact. It makes you really, I don't know, I guess it takes more energy. But for me, it's very hard because I'll go from normal, boom, past into the anaerobic zone. I can't help it. So one thing I'm trying to do is be really intentional. And so I've been doing some 15-minute YouTube kind of walk at home, just gentle 1-minute walk at home, kind of aerobic type things, but trying to keep my heart rate in that right zone, which has satisfied. I love exercise. I've always loved exercise. I have exercised this entire time. I was, a gym bunny around the time I was diagnosed, and I've always exercised in some form or another, and it makes me feel like me. And I do have to be mindful of what I'm doing. Some of the movements I can't do because I'll put my SI joint out, and I have to watch that heart rate. And I obviously have to be careful about the time of day I do it and how hot it is and blah, blah, blah. But using my heart rate, I think, to guide me to keep my exercise in that zone so that I can be intentional about actually trying to exercise, I think is going to be helpful. So I'll report back about that experiment. But at the moment, the main experiment is the chiropractic. I'm giving it a real go because it's made such a difference. And my chiropractor is so, really believes that this is going to make a big difference for me. And I can feel it now. At first I was really skeptical, but now we're here, I feel really hopeful. So in April is our next catch-up, where we do an assessment to see how it's working. I'm going once per week now, and we'll see how it's going. So at the last catch-up, the muscle scan showed that I was using a lot less muscle pressure just to sit upright like a normal person. When I did my first assessment, so much energy just to sit upright. All my muscles were firing just to sit in neutral. And now it's a lot less. There are a few key areas, obviously, my neck, my low back, and then a little bit in the mid back. But we're working on it. And since we found that piece of research that the rheumatologist, I think it's Dr. Katz, I've shared about it on the blog, intramuscular pressure. They're saying that intramuscular pressure in fibromyalgia is 3 times higher than control patients, and that they found that a lack of curve in the neck and the cervical spine, potentially pulled out of place by the super tight muscles, could be a reliable kind of diagnostic marker for fibromyalgia. And when I shared that research with the chiropractor, she went back to my first x-ray and measured the curve, and I fit into their parameter. So it's really cool to finally see some kind of marker that says clearly, yeah, there is fibromyalgia here. This is probably, what's going on. And that's, for the first time, I feel comfortable about that. But I also now feel like a lot of things are turned on their head. So my fibromyalgia chapter in my new book I'm writing is really different from the first one I wrote in my first book about it. So it's been really exciting learning about that. But what we're going to do is re-x-ray at my second check-in to see if the spinal curve has changed at all, because it was basically straight, no curve. And I've had such a good change in my neck. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still experiencing pain all day, every day, and I still have to be very mindful, but it's so much better. I don't have to try and work on the trigger points and try and stretch it and try and do yoga and try and massage it and put on the heating, creams. It's the amount of work I have to put into keeping my neck relaxed and calm is so much less, and I'm so thankful for it. So it'll be cool to see if there's any measurable change like that in April. So because we're in the middle of this big experiment, and it is quite expensive, to go twice a week and now once a week for all this time, it's a lot of money. But I have actually stopped seeing the physiotherapist for the first time in 10 years. For a long time, the physiotherapy was all I had. The intramuscular needling was all I had to stop me getting migraine level headaches because of the tension in my neck. But I think that was just a treadmill therapy. So what I'm hoping is that what's happening with the chiropractic is that it's forming longer term things, and that my body is adjusting and making its own changes. And I think that might be what's happening. At the least, it's a 10-minute appointment once a week at the moment, and eventually will reduce. And so that's a lot better than having to find an hour every 2 weeks. And it's just a more pleasant treatment, and she can hit multiple parts of the body much more easily. So it's very exciting in that sense. It feels a bit like I'm just living where I am and accepting where things are and carrying on, but also I have real hope, which I've had for a long time, but just, yeah, it's like I'm waiting, but we're not there yet. I still have, tremendous things all day, every day, but that's what I'm sharing here with you, because I need to share it. I want to share it with you. So that's a little bit of an update of where I'm at. If you have any questions, let me know, because I feel like it's not like a really easy, okay, I tried this thing and that's how it went, or anything like that, but I feel like I'm better, quantifiably, maybe one pain point down the scale, and just feeling positive. And I'm so grateful for the less pain. But it's interesting because while I'm having less headaches because of my neck, having more headaches because of the heat isn't so fun. But yeah, it's just a little back and forward, and that's why I share it, because you don't see much of this. You see the recovery stories with their whole, this helped, this helped, this helped, or you see the people, who are not really able to change much or getting much progress. I'm really right in the thick of it, and things are just changing all the time, and it's super complex. So I hope it's helpful sharing. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what's going on with you. I really do appreciate those of you who share comments of where you're up to, and I do love engaging with you in the comments. So do chat, and I'll catch you again soon.